Hello, everyone. This is DerekJ Speaks, and I am so happy to bring you my review of WWE WrestleMania 39 Night 1. Of course, WrestleMania Saturday night, live from SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California. WrestleMania went Hollywood once again. Night 1 is now in the books, and I can safely say that this Night 1 of WrestleMania is one of the best nights of WrestleMania that I have ever seen. This is someone who has watched every single WrestleMania ever from start to finish, and I can easily say that the show tonight is one of the best WrestleMania shows of all time. Capped off with an incredible main event. We have been speculating for weeks, some people even months, over what match was going to close Night 1 of WrestleMania. Night 2 was already set. We already knew what that was. Night 1 was up for grabs, and many people were pushing for the Undisputed Tag Team Championship match to close out Night 1 of WrestleMania, and it did. And the first couple of minutes of it started a little slow. I was a little worried. I was thinking, we might have made a mistake here. After the great SmackDown Women's Championship match, it looked like the wrong choice might have been made. But it was just all a part of the story. A slow burn into a beautiful masterpiece of a tag team match. They started pushing on TV that this is the biggest tag team match or tag team championship match in WrestleMania history. And I bought into it. And it was up to these guys to go out there and deliver on that hype. And they did, and then some. This match between the Usos and the team of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens was incredible. This entire storyline with the bloodline, with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, everyone involved in this story that's been playing out for months now has been tremendous, and we got a peak, pivotal part in the story on the show tonight in that main event. Those four guys went out there and put on a damn good match. A great match, great action, great drama. So much drama. A lot of times they pulled the crowd out of it. They pulled a lot of the energy out of the crowd when the Usos were dominating, when they were punishing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, respectively, at different points in the match with a barrage of super kicks. And I'll tell you what, if you are no fan of the Young Bucks because you don't like how they abuse their super kicks in their matches, you're probably not going to like this match for that reason. And I will say, I don't have much negative to say about this match, but I will say it did get to a point where some of the kickouts got a little too far-fetched. There was a couple too many finishers that were kicked out of. Some worked. At one point, Sami Zayn kicked out of the 1D. And that was a great emotional moment in the match because, as we've seen several times, rarely, if ever, does anyone kick out of that move when the Usos hit it. Hell, barely anyone ever kicked out of it when the Dudleys hit it, when it was the 3D. That is a move that has been protected for years in the wrestling business, and Sami kicking out of it the way he did in this match was picture perfect. But of course, the big story of this match came down to those closing moments when Sami Zayn ended up tagging in from Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, he had Jey Uso down. He got rid of Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso is propped up in the corner. Kevin Owens goes over. He tags in Sami Zayn, and the crowd loses their minds. They were losing their minds for majority of this match, especially those last 10 and 15 minutes or so. But in this moment here, they were losing their shit because they knew what was about to happen. Sami lines up his target. Jey Uso's right there propped up in the corner, and Sami charges at him, hits him with one haluva kick. And in doing so, Jey kind of falls forward and he falls into the arms of Sami Zayn, who's looking down at him. He's saying some stuff to him. Sami props him back up in the corner again, goes back, charges at him again, second haluva kick. Once again, he falls into Sami's arms. At this point, Jimmy Uso, who got dumped out, he gets back up, he gets on the apron, gets back in the ring, but then Kevin Owens stops him in his tracks, hits him with a stunner, bye-bye goes Jimmy Uso. And Sami rears back and delivers a third and final haluva kick right to the jaw of Jey Uso, and how apropos it is that on this night, in this match, the finish was Sami Zayn winning the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships for himself and Kevin Owens, and he did so by delivering 3 haluva kicks right to Jey Uso and pinning Jey Uso. The fans lost their minds. You could see the emotion on Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens' faces. They were telling a story here that these guys have roots in Los Angeles, in this area. They even had some of that on their gear. They had what was basically a semblance of the PWG logo each on their gear. So this was a huge emotional moment for these guys, not just for the story, but just on a personal level. And you could see that play out in the finish of this match. And it was incredible. And I was very happy to see it. I've been calling for this match to happen at WrestleMania for months now. Long before it was in heavy traction, but it just felt like that was the decision and the direction that you had to go in. When Sami Zayn was still trying to worm his way into the bloodline, and Kevin Owens began to show signs of turning back into a babyface late summer, early fall last year, it just lined up too perfectly. And then once Survivor Series happened, that's when everyone was talking about it. I'm not going to act like I was the very first person, because there were several other people who were also talking about it. This was talked about a lot, but then it got really heavily focused on. Some people were arguing against it when Sami got really hot. They wanted to see him win the championship from Roman Reigns. They wanted to see the plans change. Thankfully, those plans did not change. Otherwise, we would have been robbed of a great match like this. This is one of the best WrestleMania main events I've ever seen. This match was incredible. The emotion, the intensity of this main event was off the charts. And I'm so happy for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens, a man who has main evented 2 WrestleMania Night 1s in a row. He main evented last year against Steve Austin. And here he is winning the tag team titles here with Sami Zayn, who also had an interesting WrestleMania last year. He was in one of the highlight matches of the entire weekend last year against Johnny Knoxville, in a match that should not have been anywhere near as good as it was. This is also a big accomplishment for the Usos, 2 men who, up until a couple of years ago, couldn't sniff the main card of WrestleMania. If they even made it onto the WrestleMania card in any way, they were relegated to the pre-show for many years in a row until they finally made it onto the main card. You fast forward all these years later, Jimmy and Jey Uso, who are right thick in the middle of this incredible bloodline story, find themselves in the main event of WrestleMania, defending their tag team titles that they have held for 621 days, I believe. So it was great for them too. And now this poses the question, is this the beginning of the end for the bloodline? Because Cousin Roman is not going to be happy about the Usos losing their titles. So now we point to, as of this recording, tomorrow night or later tonight, depending on when you listen to this. At this point, as I'm recording this, it is past midnight because this show did go on pretty long. So it is safe to say tonight, WrestleMania Sunday, WrestleMania Night 2, main event, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. What's going to happen? It could still go either way. You could easily still have Roman retain the championship. I am very much so in favor of not wanting to see another WrestleMania end with Roman Reigns as the champion. He is still the biggest star in the company. He is one of the biggest performers in any wrestling company today. He is hitting on all cylinders. His character work is at God mode. He says it, it's true. It's at a top tier right now. It is seemingly impossible to consider taking the championships off of Roman Reigns. But if there's anyone at all who could believably do it, I do feel as though Cody Rhodes is that person. Will this be the downfall of the bloodline? Will the bloodline break up? Not necessarily. They could kind of splinter off a bit. Roman can take his break. The Usos and Solo Sikoa can run shit for a while until Roman comes back, and you can pick right back up on the story because there's still so much story to be told with Jey Uso, the man who was at the start of this story back in 2020 when Roman Reigns first became the tribal chief and adopted this character and first manipulated his cousins into doing his bidding and forming the bloodline. It all started with Jey Uso. He was the first one to fall in line. And so it can come right back around to that, Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. My thing with that is there does not need to be a championship involved in the equation. So I say Roman should drop the championships too, and we should see the bloodline finally be humbled and take this bloodline story to the next level. Now, thankfully, the tag team championship match was not the only incredible match on this show. This was a show filled with incredible matches, including the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, two women who were very clearly not pleased with the fact that they did not get the WrestleMania main event. Rhea Ripley, of course, being the Royal Rumble winner. In theory, they probably should have been in the main event, but the Kevin Owens Usos story was much stronger than the story that Charlotte and Rhea had going into this show. The build-up for the Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley match was very weak, and with the way it was playing out on television, it did not scream WrestleMania main event. So them not getting that spot did not bother me at all in any way whatsoever. But I will say it looked like it did bother them, and they were highly motivated to go out there and put on the performance of their lives. I don't know if this was the best match I've ever seen Charlotte Flair in, but this was easily the best match I've ever seen Rhea Ripley in. And up to this point, a lot of the matches that she and Charlotte have had have all been great. This one was no exception. This one was better than any of them. This was a fight. This was a physical fight. Rhea Ripley was whooping Charlotte's ass in this match. I will give credit to where credit's due. The Charlotte Flair character has not always been of great interest to me. But I will say, in this particular match, she did everything she could to make Rhea Ripley look like a star. Something that has not always been the case in many of their previous encounters. In this match, that was the case. Rhea was whooping her ass. At one point, Rhea hit a belly-to-belly suplex on Charlotte, and Charlotte landed on her front side. We've seen Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar and even Chris Benoit do similar things back in the day. So we had a spot like that in this match, but in doing so, Charlotte landed face and upper body first, right smack into the mat. Later on, Charlotte came up and she had a cut on her nose. It wouldn't shock me if her nose was broken. They showed the replay in slow motion. It looked even worse. She face planted on this spot. It looked brutal. But this match was great. This was a fantastic match. The crowd was eating everything they were doing out of the palm. They had the crowd eating out of the palm of their hands in this match. And I will say, for a brief second, I did think maybe this probably should have been the main event. And looking back on the show, the ending with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning the tag team titles was still the stronger moment to close the show. That was the stronger, more feel-good, emotional moment to close out the show. Even though the fans were wildly cheering for Rhea Ripley. And I'm sure she's going to continue her Judgment Day shenanigans, but man, there is a babyface run in the future for Rhea Ripley. I'm telling you now. But till then, she had a great match here against Charlotte. These two meshed well together, and there was just absolutely nothing that these two did not throw at each other. This was a great match, and Rhea, with the avalanche riptide off of the middle rope, closed the deal for Charlotte Flair and won her first main roster women's championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship. Elsewhere, for the Judgment Day members, we had what was one of my personal favorite matches on the entire show, involving a father battling his own son, that being Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. Outside of the Bloodline story, the Dominic-Rey Mysterio feud has been one of the best feuds going on in pro wrestling today. It has been going on for several months now. It started up hot, kind of died down a bit when they separated them, put them on different shows, but they still kept the feud alive. Dominic was antagonizing his father. You saw the little YouTube, Twitter videos at Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at Valentine's Day, all that great stuff. Then they finally came back together, and for weeks and weeks, Dominic has been challenging his father. His father refused to ever wrestle him until he finally had no choice but to accept the challenge, and we get the match here at WrestleMania. Everything about this match worked. The entrances, Dominic's ex-con Dom entrance with the motorcade escort and coming out of the police van, brilliant. Rey Mysterio riding out in a lowrider ridden by Snoop Dogg with Nothing But a G Thing playing, which transitioned into Eddie Guerrero's theme song and then transitioned into Rey Mysterio's theme song. Newly appointed member of the WWE Hall of Fame, Rey Mysterio that is, now officially a WWE Hall of Famer. Rey Mysterio is a Hall of Famer because he put out great matches like the one he had with his son tonight. You knew Rey Mysterio was not going to go out there at WrestleMania and have anything less than a stellar match with his own son. And that's exactly what they did. Rey played, the crowd was just playing right into Rey Mysterio, rooting and cheering for everything he did. He even had a belt. He even took a belt out and started whipping his son's ass. Dominic was the perfect sleazeball heel. He is so great in this role. Of course, Aaliyah and Angie, Rey's wife and daughter, Dominic's mom and sister, they were out there. They were in the front row. At one point, Dominic splashed water in Aaliyah's face, and she almost hopped the barricade and went after him. A little bit later on, Dominic yelled in his mom's face again, and then she slapped the taste right out of his mouth. Ooh, so satisfying. This match was great. Damian Priest and Finn Balor at one point made an appearance in this match. They got countered by the newly formed LWO with members of Legado del Fantasma, of course, spearheaded by Santos Escobar. And even Bad Bunny played a factor into this match. Bad Bunny was out there doing commentary for the Spanish announce team. At one point, Damian Priest, who came out there wearing a blazer, he took his blazer off. And then when the whole brawl with him and Balor and Legado del Fantasma started, they all got driven away. But Priest's blazer was still there, and inside that blazer was a steel chain. So Dominic was undoing the turnbuckle, and the referee caught him, and the referee went over to fix it. So he had his back turned, and then Dom goes over to the blazer, pulls out the chain. He's on the apron, and he goes to use it on Rey, but right before he could go over to him, Bad Bunny gets off the announce table, puts the headset down, goes over by the apron, and yanks Dom's steel chain right out of his hands. And then that is enough for Rey Mysterio to capitalize, hit him with the 619, followed by the frog splash, and he gets the 1-2-3 over his son. I will say, that shocked me. I thought for certain Dominic was going to win this match. It would have been great heat for Dominic to brag about the fact that he pinned his father at WrestleMania. But I do think there will be a time coming up soon where Dominic will be able to say that. because with the finish of this match, it branches out into a series of different matches. Most notably, a big match for the next WWE pay-per-view, which is Backlash in May on Cinco de Mayo weekend in Puerto Rico, hosted by Bad Bunny. You could easily set up a big tag team match for that show. If you asked me what my prediction would be, I would say a 6-man tag team match where Damian Priest, Finn Balor, and Dominic team up against Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and the man himself, Bad Bunny. So that's my prediction for down the line. But as for this night on this show, I would have preferred Dominic winning, but the way this match was structured and set up, and the way the story itself has played out for months now, but especially the way it was playing out during the course of this match, the right outcome on this night was Rey Mysterio putting a beat down on his son and winning. It wasn't as brutal of a beatdown as the one Johnny Gargano gave Grayson Waller earlier in the day at the NXT Stand and Deliver show. By the way, that match, that unsanctioned match with Gargano and Grayson Waller, fantastic. Where is that Johnny Gargano on the main roster, I ask? Grayson Waller having the best match of his entire career so far. Gargano reminding everyone exactly why he is a big deal. Great shit. That whole show, great stuff. Not everything, but that match for sure was great. And this one here on this night with Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio was great too. Speaking of great matches, we had yet another great match with Seth Rollins taking on the birthday boy himself, Logan Paul, who had a rather spectacular entrance, riding a zip line out to the ring. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins had a literal orchestral conductor conducting the crowd to sing Seth Rollins' theme song. Out came Rollins with this ridiculous outfit. I can't even begin to describe it. But I knew going in that Logan Paul, going into his 4th ever wrestling match, only having 3 wrestling matches up to this point before this, each one of those performances from him got better than the previous one. He started out the gate at WrestleMania last year with a strong performance in the tag team match where he and Miz took on the Mysterios. Later on at SummerSlam, him and Miz one-on-one, great performance. And then a few months after that, Logan Paul took on Roman Reigns in the main event of Crown Jewel. Everyone shit on that as a main event match. I did too, but they went out there and had a damn good match. And Logan Paul hung in there with Roman Reigns and looked like he belonged in there. He did the same thing here with Seth Rollins. This match was great. This was a great match. And other YouTubers are now trying to get into the WWE fun here. We had Logan Paul making his entrance, and he had a mascot for his Prime energy drink out there. Because, I mean, Logan Paul, that's his thing. But it does remind me of the barrage of sponsorships and advertisements on this show. That Rey Mysterio Dominic Mysterio match was sponsored by Cinnamon Toast Crunch, who were rumored to be having some type of sponsorship match on this show months ago after the success of the pitch black Mountain Dew shit from the Royal Rumble. So seeing all the Cinnamon Toast Crunch stuff at ringside during a match where a father is beating the shit out of his son in this intense personal feud was hilarious. That main event, the Tag Team Championship main event, was also sponsored by TurboTax. So these sponsorships are out of control. But hey, WWE, they getting their money, so good for them, I guess. But Seth Rollins, Logan Paul. Logan Paul had a mascot wearing a Prime energy drink costume. He was out there at ringside for the entire match, and he interfered at one point. He pulled Logan Paul out to safety, and when he unveiled his face, it was revealed to be YouTuber KSI. If you don't know who he is, look him up, because I'm not going to explain who he is to you. All I can tell you is he got a reaction because enough people knew who the hell he was. So that means he is a big deal to a certain audience of people. So, and his appearance here worked. He helped Logan Paul put Seth Rollins, lay him out on an announce table Logan Paul went back in the ring, went up top, was going for a frog splash, a move that he has connected with successfully in his last two matches. The one with The Miz at SummerSlam, the one with Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Both times he successfully hit the frog splash through the announce table. This time he once again did, just not on the intended target. While Seth Rollins was laid out, KSI was streaming on his phone, and Seth Rollins pulled him down onto the announce table right as Logan Paul was coming to crash down, and Logan Paul hit the frog splash on his fellow YouTuber and planted him, put him right through the announce table. Got a big ovation from the crowd. Logan Paul, a little bit later on, went for a coast-to-coast on Seth Rollins, but Rollins caught him flush with a super kick in midair and then hit him with the stomp and got the win. Rollins has been very giving of himself these last couple of years at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 35 in the empty warehouse, he lost to Kevin Owens. WrestleMania 37, he lost to Cesaro. And then just last year, he lost to the returning Cody Rhodes. So he was due for a big WrestleMania win, and he got one over Logan Paul, who, according to Logan Paul himself, his WWE contract has expired now. If they want to continue to do business with him and he wants to continue doing business with them, I say re-sign that boy. So those were the big, really great matches on the show. Oh, of course, there was also another really good match, the WrestleMania Showcase match. The pointless, random throw guys in there just to get them on the show. Fatal 4-Way Tag Team WrestleMania Showcase match. The team of Braun Strowman and Ricochet, the Viking Raiders, the Street Profits, Alpha Academy, they were out there. They only gave them about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less than that, but they went out there and put on a damn good match. It was a lot of fun. There was craziness all over, a lot of power spots with Braun Strowman, with Otis, even with Chad Gable, who hit a very impressive Rolling Thunder German suplex on Braun Strowman at one point. Strowman was doing the whole Strowman Express, charging around the ring, tackling over people. He got cut off by Angelo Dawkins. That was a pretty cool moment. Ricochet back in the ring was going for a shooting star press on Angelo Dawkins, but Dawkins caught him with the knees. He got the knees up, but then he was holding on to Ricochet in position for Montez Ford on the other side to come crashing down with a frog splash right onto the back of Ricochet, who was still having Dawkins' knees right lodged into his gut. Dawkins rolled him over, got the cover, and got the win. This was a really fun match here, and this was a match that probably should have opened the show instead of the actual match that opened the show, which was John Cena challenging Austin Theory for the United States Championship. This match, I've seen a lot of split opinion on this match. Some really liked it, others did not. I will say the crowd was really into it because they're really into John Cena. John Cena is a legend. John Cena is beloved now. And, he's someone who, he's not the same John Cena he was before. He's a little older. He's a little slower. This is not his thing anymore. He is in Hollywood. He's on movie sets. He's reading scripts. He's doing commercials. He's not in and out of the ring week in and week out, day in, day out anymore. So the Cena you get is what you see is what you get, basically, with John Cena these days. And to a certain degree, we are lucky to have him. I don't know how many more times we're going to see John Cena in a ring. I don't know how many times we'll see him put on the jorts, put on the 20-year-old sneakers, and go out there and have a big match at a WrestleMania. I don't know how many more he has left in him. So for the few that we do have with him, they got to count. And on this show, it wasn't the greatest match with Austin Theory. Theory himself didn't look overly impressive. We've seen Austin Theory have better performances against people like Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, even Montez Ford. He's put in greater performances than the one he had here. But more importantly, he got the win. I was questioning if he was going to get the win after John Cena made his entrance along with a bunch of Make-A-Wish children. It's like, how is John Cena going to lose when he came out with several Make-A-Wish children? But luckily, Cena still did lose this match. The referee got knocked down. Cena had Theory in the STF, and Theory was tapping out. But of course, the referee's not there. So Cena went to go check on the referee. Then he turned back around to Austin Theory. Theory low-blowed him, and then got him up for the A-Town down, and got the 1-2-3. So it wasn't a clean victory over John Cena. Not necessarily a star-making performance or finish for Austin Theory here. But a win is a win. And after Cena completely roasted this man on the microphone several weeks ago, he had to lose here to Austin Theory. And that's exactly what he did. So, big win for Austin Theory over John Cena. Who knows when the next time will be that we see John Cena. Technically, he's had his one match this year. So, if he doesn't want to wrestle again this year, he doesn't have to. He can say he did wrestle in the year 2023. So, whether we see him again this year or not remains to be seen. Elsewhere on the show, we had a 6-woman tag team match. This was one of the first matches where it kind of slowed things down a bit. Damage Control taking on Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch, and Lita. The crowd, I mean, they popped for Lita, they popped for Trish, they popped for Becky. You know, they liked them. And even Bayley got somewhat of a reaction. They had some big spots here and there. At one point, I was calling her by her original name, Io Sky. She hit a big moonsault to the outside on a pile of all the ladies out there. Trish Stratus was wearing the same, at least a variation of the same gear that she wore at the last WrestleMania in Hollywood, that being WrestleMania 21. And my God, in that outfit and just looking at her, she looked like she was transplanted out of 2005 right now. Ageless, this woman. Ageless. She looked incredible out there. But in the end, the babyfaces won, which was one of, if not the most shocking outcome on this entire show. I thought if anyone needs a win, it is Damage Control. But they, once again, have lost a big match. Every time Bayley or Damage Control are in a feud and they're in a big match, they lose. Whether it was the feud with Bianca or War Games or some of the previous matches that Becky and Bayley have had, Bayley seems to basically lose all of them. And here at WrestleMania, you thought maybe there was a chance Damage Control would win. There were rumors circulating that people might have thought that maybe Trish might turn heel, which could still happen down the line. But for now, it didn't. The babyfaces won, and that was shocking. And I have no idea where Damage Control goes from here. You know, you could break them up. Io can, she has tons of upside as a babyface, honestly. You could have Bayley and Dakota kick her to the curb and then have Io feud with Bayley until she eventually splinters off by herself. You can keep Dakota as a lackey for Bayley for now until she eventually goes off on her own too. But I don't know what you do with these women. A lot of the matches on this show and this weekend involve some of these women, and you know, the matches were either okay or really good in the case of Charlotte and Rhea, but the stories, Triple H, that is one of his biggest Achilles heels so far in his tenure as head of creative, is trying to write compelling stories for the women. I cannot remember the last really intriguing, compelling story that involved the women, even before Triple H took over, let alone since he's taken over. So, coming out of WrestleMania, that is something he is going to have to address, and that needs to be a top priority. Pronto. Where is a bloodline level story for the women right now? Where is a Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio-esque story for the women, involving the women? We don't have it. So hopefully coming out of WrestleMania, we can start leaning in that direction and start building up some really compelling stories for the women, both for the championships and outside of the championships, because it does not need to be only about the titles. You can have other stories for the women. So hopefully after WrestleMania, we can get in that direction. And then we had an impromptu match, a complete nothing, a waste of time, with The Miz and the surprise appearance of Pat McAfee. Snoop Dogg was out there. So Miz, we all knew, was the guest host of WrestleMania. At the last minute here, they showed that Snoop Dogg was his co-host. And Snoop Dogg kind of talked Miz into accepting a challenge from Pat McAfee. They had a really quick match. George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers, he was out there. He clotheslined The Miz. McAfee won. Complete waste of time. A nothing match. It was sandwiched in between the women's championship match and the main event. It brought the crowd down, I guess, a little too down, because those first couple of minutes of the tag team title match, the crowd was not really into it. But, of course, the magic of the Usos and Sami and Kevin, they brought them back into it, of course. But, yeah, a waste of time. But even that was not enough to bring down this entire show. This show was fantastic. I loved watching it. The big matches that delivered more than made up for the ones that may not have. Those 4 big matches, that main event, the women's championship match, Cena, not Austin Theory and John Cena, not their match. Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. Them, the two of them. So the main event, the women's championship match, Logan Paul and Seth Rollins, and of course, Dominic and Rhea. Those 4 matches alone made this one of the best nights of WrestleMania I've ever watched. And I just hope that everyone on night 2 is motivated to outdo the guys and girls on night 1, so we can have a collective, fantastic WrestleMania weekend. And we'll see it all together. I will be back with you guys tomorrow, Monday morning, be uploading a review of WrestleMania Night 2. We will see who will be the undisputed champion at the end of that show. And then Tuesday morning, I will have my post-WrestleMania Raw review. If anything exciting happens on that show, you'll hear it from me. But till then, I'm beat. A lot of wrestling today and plenty more tomorrow. So thank you all for joining me, and I appreciate you all. And I look forward to speaking to you all again for WrestleMania Night 2. So until then, take care.